We live in a time of constant analyzing for the fun of analyzing. We compare every work to those similar to it, we find something to say about every detail, etc. It's incentivized to us by our very culture. Popular YouTubers show off the thousands of dollars they make a month simply for looking under the surface of a show. Audience members begin to copy this because creators make it cool, and like anything with large amounts of people copying it, it spreads. It spreads so far the people doing it don't even know its origin. And hey, it's enjoyable. This mindset has brought some of my favorite YouTube videos and has caused me to meet no shortage of wonderful people, but I feel like after a certain point this mindset can become problematic, and I'd be remiss to say that I don't fall into this trap as well. Whenever I think about this cultural phenomenon the internet has brought about, I think about my friend Spacey. I've encountered numerous arguments from him literally equating bad art to being bad morally, and these ideas are being taken seriously within a relatively normal space on the internet. If you said this even 4 years ago, you'd be laughed at out of the room. How did we get to this point? As stated, YouTubers have made this behavior acceptable. As YouTube evolves as a medium, we find more and more advanced forms of content. Angry Video Game Nerd was the first to really explain what a game did wrong in any sort of written critical detail, but even so, it was done through the veneer of comedy. While many of the things said were legitimate critiques of the game, the character of the nerd, by his very existence, was criticizing the criticism of these old games. I mean, for Christ's sake, this man was wearing pins and a buttoned-up white shirt. Everything about how this was presented was over the top. It made us laugh at ourselves for thinking any of these things in the first place while still holding them as beliefs. This is what not taking yourself seriously is. And then, as time went on, things got a bit less comedic. I can't trace any real beginning, but for me it was Errant Signal. His videos are entirely monotonal and focus on the mechanics of games in a dry manner. People like this pushed the boundary of what was acceptable. You didn't need an over-the-top character anymore, you just needed to be a person who had ideas and wrote. As these channels influenced one another and gained popularity, what was accepted changed. This is what led people like good ol' Spacey existing. It's perfectly acceptable to view these subjects in extreme depth, even going to the point of morally quantifying a fucking cartoon. But it all started from the mere concept of looking at these things in depth with AVGN. It only took people who didn't know how to be comedic, or comedy not fitting them, to step up to the plate to really change things. Now, in no way was this a linear chain of events. These things have happened and have influenced one another within the cultural sphere of the internet. What might have been an evolution within games journalism in the 90s didn't have a large enough audience to penetrate the culture of the internet. What I'm speaking on is more so the mainstreamification of these academic ways of thinking, and specifically within the spheres of influence that YouTube possesses. The sphere is fairly large. So I pose the question, have we gone too far? And if so, what does that mean? I recently watched a few episodes of Golden Kamuy and had a blast, but upon stating my feelings on the show in the Chromasticators chat, a friend of mine quickly jumped in to say I was consuming the franchise wrong, citing the manga as miles better because it has better art. These comparisons were made because the anime was adapted from another work, so of course with our analytical minds we gotta find how they connect and then point out every way they differ, and how it ruins everything, right? The intrinsic problem here is that despite the fact that it's adapting the manga, Golden Kamuy exists in an entirely different medium, a medium of moving animation and sounds. When I watch an anime series, my goal is not to linger on each frame admiring the quality of its art. It is to submit to the show's pacing, allowing the weight of its content to control me. Reading a manga requires us to create our own experience. We read it either super fast or slow, we can't have music in the background, and we've come up with the voices for all the characters. This medium definitely has its advantages, i.e. staring for hours at one page of gorgeous art, but animation has its own set of advantages as well. I don't always want to sit down and put in the effort of controlling the experience of the media I consume. Sometimes I'm just laying on my bed wondering what the point of all this is, and I just want to put something on as a band-aid for my fractured mind. I just need a piece of media that doesn't require much input, but allows me to escape this hellhole regardless. The two types of mindsets manga and anime put us in are different, and thus they require us to be in certain moods. Most of the time when I watch anime, I need to put the minimum effort into consuming something. The voices are all there for me, and it provides a quick autoplay of cool action without me even moving from my couch. When I read manga, I'm ready to admire an art piece. Golden Kamuy provides an aesthetic I like, and it provides provides it in anime, a medium I submit to. The only reason I watched this show was because all the screenshots on Crunchyroll showed it had snow, and I will indefinitely enjoy anything with snow, no matter how technically bad it is. And as I watched it, I began to see blood, a cute lolly with a sword, a historical setting, the lo-fi CG, and even wolves. All of these things are my aesthetic. Sure, it's not the best written or produced show by any stretch of the imagination, but it matches my aesthetic. If I can look immediately at an image from the show and it makes me happy, then I don't care if the manga is better. My goal here is to watch an anime that looks cool. Things that look cool make me happy, and I'm not in the mood for manga. Would it have looked cool if it looked like the manga? Sure, but I'm happy with how this turned out, because it provides me exactly what I want in an anime. There should be no comparison when the way anime and manga are consumed is different and thus elicit different reactions. Comparing the show to the manga creates an unnecessary barrier between the two. It makes us not enjoy something on the basis of it not being what it was based off of. Even though you can still consume and enjoy the manga, the anime's existence does not change the manga. The two are related only by name and in commonality of elements. The staff should be given free rein to differ from the source material however much they choose, and that should not detract from the show. And in no way is this comparison a new phenomenon. Manga has always been compared to anime simply for the fact that they're related to each other. The audience will take out any possible grievances they have towards the series on the fact that it isn't the manga, and in doing so, they find a myriad of issues on top of their already misplaced and misdirected anger. This has always happened, but I believe the problem is only exacerbated by an internet culture priding itself on being overly academic and critical. This argument happened in the Crow Chat, a chat that's sprung up out of a podcast group who primarily analyzes and criticizes everything. They're literally fans of this type of thing, and that's fine. But it's important to acknowledge where these attitudes come from. Let the show spread its wings. Let it do what it wants. If the differences bother you, or if you simply don't want these concepts in this medium, read the manga. But I'm happy looking at the new Golden Kamuy anime for what it is, and it's much more enjoyable to look at it for what it is, rather than what it